Welcome to another edition of Self-Defense Across America. Okay, we're back with some more defensive use of a firearm stories for you. We're going to start in Chicago, Illinois, where we have an adult male victim who was unharmed, two adult male victims who were unharmed, and a 23-year-old male, and this was an armed robbery. That's our suspect, the 23-year-old male. A shootout erupted on Sunday morning after a man allegedly attempted to recover his stolen vehicle on the city's south side. Liborio Torres said his son's car was stolen from the 5500 block of South Costner Avenue early Sunday morning. The family called the police to report the theft, but Torres said the car also had a tracker in it. Despite a warning from police not to follow it, he and his son began to track the vehicle. According to Torres, they found the car a short time later in a parking lot in the 100 block of West 87th Street with three people inside. Torres said the three individuals inside the car spotted him and his son, and that it was then that they opened fire. They saw us and started driving, and that's when the other guys in the back started shooting at us. Torres, a CCL holder, said he and his son then returned fire. According to Chicago police, the vehicle then allegedly fled the scene following the shooting. Police say after fleeing, the car crashed into a storefront near West 87th Street and South Lafayette Avenue. All three men allegedly fled from the vehicle on foot. Police say a 23-year-old man who was allegedly inside the stolen vehicle suffered a gunshot wounds to the neck and shoulder during the shootout and later took himself to the hospital. Police say he's reportedly in serious condition. A juvenile who was allegedly inside the vehicle was also taken into custody while trying to flee the scene. Police say the juvenile was taken to the hospital and treated for injuries sustained in the crash. Following the crash, officers recovered three weapons from the scene. No other injuries were reported, and police say an investigation is ongoing. So this is something the police really tell people not to do. If your car gets stolen, and a lot of people have some sort of tracking on their vehicle, the police say you should never do this. And I've done quite a few stories in the last year on people that have gone after their vehicle to get it back, and it has a similar outcome. Oftentimes, it's the person who's going to get their car that is the one that ends up getting shot in the end. But it sounds like these guys that went to get their car back didn't get it or didn't get shot, but their car was smashed into a building, and it doesn't look like it's probably going to be drivable. So they might have got it back, but they didn't get it back anywhere near the condition that they lost it in. All right, we're going to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we have our victim, 35-year-old Ali Abdirashid Jama, and we have a 16-year-old male suspect. And let's see what this teenager did. Police are investigating after a teenager was shot in Minneapolis Sunday morning. According to the Minneapolis Police Department, officers responded to a report of a shooting around 12:45 a.m., where they found a 16-year-old male with potentially life-threatening injuries. Police also found a suspect that I think they mean that that's the victim, 35-year-old Ali Abdirashid Jama, near the intersection of 19th South and Riverside, and placed him in custody for second-degree assault. Okay, they're calling that. Okay, we'll see how this ends. The 16-year-old was brought to the Hennepin Healthcare, according to authorities. Preliminary information suggests a physical altercation led to the gunfire after the 16-year-old broke out the window of Jama's vehicle. U of M police assisted MPD in the incident. Forensic scientists processed the scene and collected evidence. The shooting is still under investigation. So the first part that I read said that the 35-year-old man was the victim and the 16-year-old was the suspect, but this thing reads like the 16-year-old, or that the 35-year-old was the suspect because he was arrested. And maybe because he shot the kid, he was arrested for second-degree adult assault. I don't know. That one's weird. Happened in Minneapolis. Let's go to Houston, Texas, where we have an adult male victim who was unharmed and a male suspect who was injured and arrested. And this looks like a home invasion. The Houston Police Department is searching for two suspects who allegedly tried to rob a man outside of his home as he was getting out of his car in the early morning hours of Sunday in Northeast Houston. Officers received the call around 12:30 a.m. They said the suspect forced the man up to the front door of his home. According to police, a person inside the home at the time witnessed the ordeal and began shooting at the suspects, and gunfire was exchanged. The suspects then returned fire and fled the scene. Shortly after that, the police units arrived and were able to locate one of the suspects in a nearby neighborhood. He had injuries, gunshot wounds to the legs and one to the arm. Investigators said that the suspect was transported to the hospital and is expected to survive. The number of robberies in the Trinity Gardens neighborhood where the attempted home invasion occurred steadily declined from 2019 to 2022, but then it started increasing again from 109 to 121 in the last 12 months. So it sounds like this neighborhood is one that is common for this kind of stuff to happen. And, you know, this is a typical thing that happens with these things is that you try to protect yourself and you end up getting in a shootout with the guys that are trying to break into your house or, steal your car or whatever. Okay, another one in Houston. This one happened at a Chevron, and we have an adult male victim who was unharmed, and this is a robbery suspect, an adult male, and it looks like this guy was killed in this one. A bystander who witnessed an innocent person be robbed at a Houston gas station shot and killed the suspect. And this one I want to read the title of. I don't normally read the title of these articles, but the title of this one is "Should the Man Who Shot and Killed Northwest Houston Gas Station Robbery Suspect Face Charges?" That's the title of this article. So that gives us a little foreshadowing to what we expect to read in this one. The witness was parked in front of the Chevron gas station on the corner, in the Greens Point neighborhood of Houston early Saturday morning. According to the Houston Police Department, around 12:37 a.m., an armed man ran up to another man pumping gas, pistol whipped the man, and then stole his wallet. Immediately after he's done with that, the suspect takes off running. As the suspect's running away, there's another individual that is not related to our victim that's getting robbed, and we don't believe related to the individual that was shot, is in another car parked in front of the store. So this one's got a lot going on. Watching this entire incident unfold was the witness. He then pulled out a gun and shot towards the suspect who was fleeing the scene. Detectives say the suspect was shot in the upper body and later died as a result of the shooting. The witness checked on the victim of the robbery and then drove away, all just over a minute. They left the scene before Houston police arrived. This begs the question, did the witness do anything wrong to be charged with a crime? It's like bad also and good also. The clerk at the gas station said, yeah, it's a 50-50. I don't believe they did the right thing. I don't believe they should have shot him. The witness, okay, this is a bunch of witness testimonies preventing I would dare say, the way Texas is Texas, the legislature is, and the courts are, they would recognize that as a legitimate shooting because the person was fleeing, still had the opportunity and ability to able to harm other people. Okay, so this is something that comes up with a lot of these. So it was an innocent bystander that decided to shoot at this guy. And oftentimes these guys are running away, but they still have a gun on them. So somebody shoots at them while they're running away, but there still is, you could argue, an imminent threat of danger because you don't know if that person's just going to come right back. So these are tough ones. And this guy that shot at and killed this suspect, he's lucky he's in Texas because he has a chance there. In a lot of states, he wouldn't have a chance. He'd already be up for murder charges right now just because the guy was running away. That one's a tough one. Okay, we're going to go to New Orleans. And we got an adult male victim who was unharmed, and our suspect is 23-year-old Jonathan Edwards, and he was injured in this. It looks like a carjacking. A man who was trying to carjack someone was shot multiple times by the would-be victim. According to the New Orleans Police Department, the victim, an adult male, was reportedly targeted by 23-year-old Jonathan Edwards in New Orleans East around 2 a.m. on January 26th. Police say Edwards pulled on the door handle and told the victim to get out. The victim fired shots at Edwards, striking him multiple times. The suspect was taken to the hospital. Upon release, he will be booked into jail on one count of attempted first-degree robbery. The victim is not facing charges. So it doesn't say in this if the would-be carjacker had a gun or not, but he tried to get into the car, assuming he had a gun, and the victim fired back at him. And that's kind of the gist of that. And that happens a lot, actually, too, is people have they're in their car, and if they have the means to defend themselves, they're using it because, they don't want to get taken advantage of. And that situation sounded like it ended pretty okay for the victim. Okay, we'll go to Fort Worth, Texas. Oh, our victim in this one, we got 3 victims in this one. And one of them was killed, 50-year-old Donnell Smith Jr. So there's 3 victims, and it doesn't list, the other 2 were injured. It doesn't list anything about the suspects, so they probably didn't catch them. A 50-year-old man was fatally shot Thursday during an armed robbery. I'm mixing the words all together. In southwest Fort Worth, and 2 more victims were injured. Officers responded to a shooting call at an apartment complex in the 3600 block of Oak Tree Circle in the Wedgwood East neighborhood around 11:20 p.m., according to Fort Worth police records. One of the victims was dead when police arrived. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office identified him as Donnell Smith Jr. That's the 50-year-old dude. A second shooting victim was found inside the apartment and taken to a hospital. A third shooting victim later self-transported to the hospital. Detectives learned that the 3 men had been robbed by 2 suspects who had entered the residence. One of the victims and the suspects exchanged gunfire, and the suspects fled after the shooting. No arrests have been announced. So this one turned out bad. So these guys break in there and are attempting to rob these guys, and all 3 of the people are hit with bullets because they get into a shootout with these guys. And one would think that the suspects in this were likely hit by gunfire as well if there was a shootout, but if they ran in time, maybe not, but maybe they end up in the hospital and get arrested for that before the whole thing is over. Okay, we're going to go to Philadelphia, where we have an adult victim that was unharmed, and our suspect, this one looks like a drive-by. Our suspect is 19-year-old, and it just says 19-year-old male. A man is hospitalized in critical condition after gunfire erupted during an apparent road rage incident on Thursday afternoon in Juanita Park section of Philadelphia. Happened around 2:34 p.m., so right in the middle of the day. Police tell Action News there was a dispute between the 19-year-old driver of a Honda and the 38-year-old driver of the gray Ford. Investigators say the driver of the Honda pointed a gun at the Ford driver. The Ford driver then pulled out a gun and opened fire. The Honda driver was shot in the head, chest, arm, and back. Holy cow. He left the area after the shooting, but was found on East Westmoreland Street in Kensington section. It's pretty amazing that after being shot multiple times, he was able to drive from G Street and Erie Avenue to 800 East Westmoreland Street. We know he was conscious and able to drive a vehicle. That's what the chief and police chief says. Smalls says a relative brought the 19-year-old to the hospital for treatment, where he is also being held as a prisoner. He was listed as critical, but is expected to survive. A gun was recovered from the Honda. The driver of the Ford was not injured. Police say he remained on the scene as cooperating with police. He does have a valid permit to carry. No charges have been filed. So this is something that needs to happen. I mean, you don't want to say you need more shootings, but this is something that needs to happen in order for these carjackings to stop. Because if these guys think that they can just walk up to anybody and take anybody's car willy-nilly and nothing's going to ever happen to them, they're going to keep doing it. Because they go to jail and they get out an hour later, there's no consequence when it comes to these carjackings for the suspects that are doing it. There's literally no consequences. They might get a little slap on the wrist, maybe they get a little community service time or something, but literally nothing really happens to these guys unless they end up killing somebody. They can take the car, they go off, and it's no harm, no foul. The police just let them go. They're like, oh, the guy got his car back, whatever. And nothing happens. But if enough of them start getting shot, that they learn a lesson and learn that, hey, I could end up getting shot if I do this. I'm not going to do this anymore. That's about the only thing that's going to stop these. Because the judicial system is not going to help in any way, shape, or form. because there's not the charges they give these kids. If you are under 18, even in some cities, if you're under 21, they literally don't want to give you any charges. They don't want to. It doesn't matter what you do. They don't want to give you any charges. So unfortunately, this seems like the only way that there's even a chance of stopping this, and making things better for the future. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.